Starting this recipe off with the nacho cheese, I'm going to be adding in some steamed vegetables, starting off with some gold potatoes, which are the best potatoes for a base for cheese, because it just adds such a level of creaminess to it and decadence. And then adding in some steamed cauliflower. I'm just literally using the complementary vegetables that I have on hand, so it makes a really cohesive blend for this cheese. So I use a yellow onion, a yellow bell pepper, a jalapeno, some carrots, and then a red bell pepper as well. And then I'm going to be adding in a cup of nutritional yeast, so that's going to add that cheesy flavor to it. So you can really have fun with the base you're going to create for this cheese sauce. And adding in really vegetables are going to be pretty as far as color goes, but also the flavor too. You want it to be cohesive and complementary as well. Then adding in also some garlic cloves for added flavor and depth to this recipe. I did not add any salt to it. I'm going to add salt at the very end just for taste. So blending until it's creamy and scraping down the sides of the blender. Make sure you get all the nutritional yeast goodness, and then this is going to add the perfect cheesiness to our casserole. To make this dish a little bit more calorie dilute, I'm going to add a ton of veggies to this. So starting with the zucchini, I'm just going to basically get the peel off of it and use the same vegetable peeler to create these ribbons that are almost like noodles, and it's going to be in between the layers, so we have extra veggies added to it, give it more depth, and then reduce the calories of it too. So keeping a similar idea as far as keeping the veggies really thin, with my red onion, I'm just going to basically slice it up as thin as I possibly can. That way all the vegetables will get cooked thoroughly when it goes in the oven. Using a 9.5 by 13.5 baking pan, I'm just going to do a layer of the nacho cheese on the bottom, and that will help keep the ingredients from sticking to the pan. So I'm going to be adding in some rice and beans I actually made the night before, which is actually the inspiration behind this recipe. I simply just made so much rice and beans that I didn't know what to do with it, so I came up with this recipe to show you guys today. So I basically made these in the Instant Pot. I combined the rice and the beans and cooked it with a bunch of cumin and chili powder and garlic powder, and that's going to add the nice starchiness to this dish. So layering in the really thin strips of zucchini that we cut earlier and just creating a layer pretty much just like lasagna to cover up the rice and the cheese sauce. You can really add whatever vegetables you want to this dish and really make it your own. I just love using zucchini in almost anything. It goes great in savory dishes as well as sweet dishes. So I'm adding in also a layer of raw spinach. And I decided to go with raw spinach because I know it's going to end up cooking down in the oven anyways, but it does take up a lot of space. So if you want more space for veggies, then I would just use cooked spinach instead. And then I'm layering in the onions, and I'm using frozen corn as well. You can also use canned corn. Frozen corn works just as well. You just might have to cook it a little longer. And then doing another layer of the cheese sauce and then the rice and beans, and then continuing that layering process until you either run out of ingredients or you just simply run out of room in your pan. A little tip as well, when you're layering your ingredients, make sure they're as evenly spread out as possible so that there's not more vegetables in the middle than there is on the outer edges. That way everything can get cooked thoroughly. I did have to check this dish a few times, so I found the perfect amount of time to leave it in, especially for using any kind of frozen veggies or any kind of thicker chunks of veggies too. So after I add in the very last layer of the cheese sauce, I'm going to cover this with foil, put it in my preheated oven that's at 375 degrees, and cook it for about 45 minutes. Depending on your oven, would depend on the time. I found that 45 minutes was the perfect amount of time, but I would check it every so often. I've added pico de gallo to mine. You can also use salsa or put it with the bed of greens, add some steamed spinach, and just enjoy.